what inspired you to write this book?
Great question. I was inspired by my own experience of having had a mental health diagnosis. My life had been very busy and very full, very productive. And at a point, one particular morning, I got up, prepared breakfast for my family. My girls were in middle school at the time, and my husband said, "Hey, let me take the girls to school, and that way you can put your makeup on in the bathroom mirror instead of the rearview mirror." And so I hugged everybody. They went out, went into the bathroom, and all of a sudden I just felt very sick, and I couldn't explain it. But the way I write about it in Learning to Be, it's kind of like when you have your hands on a package of dry spaghetti and you just keep applying enough pressure and then those pieces begin to pop. I got in bed and couldn't get out for months, and later was diagnosed with having had a major depressive episode. My grandmother didn't know anything about major depressive episodes, so she would have just said, "Baby, you had a nervous breakdown."
Yeah. So was there a concern that people might judge you because you weren't up to par being the Juanita that you've always been?
Well, I've had that question asked before. I was so out of it, in some ways unconscious, if you will, that what people thought really wasn't even on my radar. What I was concerned with was, how do I live through this crash, is what I call it in the book. How do I live through this? How will I be a wife and a mom and a pastor at this growing church that I've now served for 28 years? And so that was really more present. I wasn't able to leave home for months. I was unable to get out of bed. I slept 18 to 20 hours a day. I wasn't functioning. So thinking about what other people thought really wasn't on my radar. But that's one of the reasons why I wrote this book, because I wanted people who've not experienced a mental health diagnosis to kind of have an inside look as to what it's like for the person, and hopefully gain some compassion and empathy for anybody that they know that might be experiencing something similar.
And sometimes depression and a mental health breakdown, unfortunately, can sometimes lead to worse things such as isolation, and even more so, suicide. What do you say to people who are on that edge and experiencing, okay, I'm not 100%, I'm kind of scared to mention it to even my close family members? What do you say to them about reaching out and getting help?
That is such an important question. I was in bed for about 2 weeks, and my husband said, "Baby, I think you need to see a doctor." And so what I would suggest is seeing your primary health care provider first. If you don't have any other safe places to talk. If you don't, I hope you have a good friend that you could call and say, "I'm really struggling right now." Because I think having some accountability is important. Somebody who's just checking on you. "Hey, are you able to get out of bed today? You can't? Okay, well, I just want you to know I love you. I care about you. You matter. You're important." In my case, I went to the physician. We ruled out any other kind of illness like diabetes or hyperthyroidism, because sometimes depression can be mimicked because of other kinds of illnesses. And so once we ruled those things out, my next call was to a psychiatrist, because I needed somebody who could help walk me through this process. For me, that meant I took medication, I saw a psychiatrist, and also saw a psychotherapist. There are nonprofit organizations in Indianapolis and in Indiana. There is the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. Call somebody. You don't have to suffer alone. That's my biggest message. Call somebody, reach out to somebody, let them know what you're going through. Even if you, like me, couldn't really put words to it. It was as I was trying to describe my experience to my psychiatrist that she said, "Okay, Juanita, it sounds like what you've experienced is a major depressive episode." That was a title for me to work with. Then from there, we worked on trying to find the right mix of medications. that would help me begin to live with the diagnosis.
And Juanita, what do you want the biggest takeaway to be for people who read the book, Learning to Be?
You know, right now we are all learning to be. We're learning to live with a global pandemic, and that has meant that all of our lives have had a reorientation, really a disorientation. We haven't even gotten to reorientation, I don't think. We had a way of being before COVID-19 that we were all used to. We had our rhythm. Then we experienced this disorientation. A mental health diagnosis is a disorientation, a divorce, a disaster, despair, the fires in California. That's disorienting. The social justice uprising that's occurring in this nation, disorienting. And so what my book, Learning to Be, offers anybody who reads it is an opportunity to find that we all have something in common. It's resilience, the capacity to move through our most devastating moments, our most disparaging experiences, and even physical and mental health diagnosis. There's resilience built in our DNA. And my book offers some practices for reflection that I felt and feel and use daily to help me tune into that place where I'm grounded and I can survive through this.
All right, excellent. Great interview. Thank you.